it's a lot easier to do it that way. Recommendations are always good. If you trust the people making the recommendations.
Right.
We can't be spending all our time just randomly casting nets looking for people.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in the break asked me why we hadn't heard from Bill Squire in a long time, and I didn't know what to tell him. Don't know. I can't keep track of everyone. By the way, people were telling me that Mr. Zub's makes one of those donut burgers. It's called the Homer Simpson.
Nice.
You think the Poundcake would have known about that since he did their commercials for so long?
I don't know how long that's been in effect. I don't know how long they had that sandwich.
Lunchtime at Mr. Zub's.
I need to get royalties for that. Stop playing that. Pay me.
Royalties. Yeah, you should. Because I'm sure they still use it all the time. Right?
How could they not?
How could they not? Guys, our summer menu is back, including the glazed donut chicken burger. What?
I said menus to society.
Menus to society.
Lunchtime at Mr. Zub's.
Your Cleveland Guardians are playing again tonight. They lost to the Mariners last night on the West Coast. 3-1 was the final. They get another crack at them tonight. 10-10 is the start. Late game, West Coast. 10-10 tonight and tomorrow, and then Sunday afternoon, they'll play them at 4:10. As we inch ever closer to the end of the regular season. I mean, there's only 2 months left of baseball. What are we going to do?
It's going so fast.
So fast. I mean, it's as though the organizations have gotten tired of it. They're already dropping their schedules for next year. They're telling people, hey, come out and see us in March or April or something. We got to keep that excitement going all the way through basketball season and football season. You got to keep people thinking about baseball. Hey, Allie.
Okay, now it's over.
Allie.
Yeah, 1 second. I can put over there. Right now.
Whenever you get to it.
Okay, thank you, Allie. So your Guardians will play tonight here on WMMS and on the iHeartRadio app. If you're in town but not near, I don't know. I hesitate to say radio. If you're in your car and there's a radio, yeah. If you're at home, it's a smart speaker of some kind. I was sure that somewhere in my house, I had a radio, just as a relic of something. Not like an old-timey tabletop thing, where the family is gathering around the audio hearth. But I had all I had was an HD radio. This was going to be the wave of the future about 15 years ago. Were high-definition radios, and there were a couple of companies that made them, and I think this company might have even invested in it for a while. But it was passed over by a lot of consumers, but I was given one. And so in my house, there's an HD radio. And I can tune WMMS on it. But I don't use it that often. But something to consider. You probably find one on, if somebody goes, because I have, I've been working in this business for 30 years. So I've acquired a lot of audio technology that has since fallen out of favor. Like I was going through some of the things last night that I had to get home from my office at Oak Tree, things that are just in the basement now or in my garage. And I'm going through these bins of things that I forgot were in bins, like my mini disc Walkman. I don't think there's a whole lot of people walking around with mini disc. First of all, I'm not walking around with Walkmans to begin with. Even the iPod is essentially obsolete now, isn't it?
Pretty much.
As big of a stink as I made a few years ago about losing my iPod, my cherished iPod. This was when we still lived in Ohio City, so this was 5-6 years ago. And I had concluded that it probably fell out of a backpack and landed in the street, whatever. And I was obsessed with refilling an iPod with all my music. And then I did that painstakingly. And then I never used it again. I don't know why I went to all that. It's not all that trouble. You plug it in and it downloads your thing or whatever. But even iPods, I think, they made a big thing, Apple a while back, they made a big thing about the fact that their last iPod had come off the line or something. And I couldn't believe they were still making them. And now they're like, because you can go on eBay and you can find things that back in the day were hundreds of dollars and you can get them for, $75. And now they're talking about how, well, they might bring back the iPod Touch. Why would they do that? I don't know why they would do that, because Apple's running out of things to sell people.
Get that nostalgia. Right? People.
Hey, do you have nostalgia for something that we stopped making last year, that forced nostalgia that companies need to impose on you to get you to do things?
There's kids that they're into that, though. I was watching Welcome to Wrexham.
Okay.
The documentary about
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney bought a soccer team.
Yes, exactly. And they go to this house, I think that Rob McElhenney grew up in, and there was an iPod in a dock, and it was all gross and grody. And his son, who's probably 10 years old, goes, I'll take that. I'll take that. Because he sees it as like an interesting piece of history that he's not really familiar with, because he's never really needed an iPod. But seeing it, he goes, it looks weird. Looks fun.
Yeah, to his kid, it might as well be a fax machine.
Right.
Does that show any
you'll
good?
Get some of that. It's pretty interesting. There's not as much. So the first episode, there's a lot of Ryan Reynolds and Rob. You got a lot of those two. The second episode is the end of a season where they, it's a lot more the players and stuff like that. And what is funny is I was watching Hard Knocks with my girlfriend a few weeks ago, and she hated that show. There's a bunch of...
It's a Detroit Lions.
Well, yeah, but it's like everything is fancy and nice and new. And then she sees this show, and the team that they bought is not doing good. The stadium is old and crummy. The team's crummy. And she's like, oh, I relate so much more to this because they're all poor. I like this. I actually feel like I can root for them versus rooting for a bunch of
millionaires.
Yeah, oversized 20-year-old millionaires.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, so it's a pretty good show.
She likes a more hard scrabble group of people.
Yeah, she just relates to it more because there's a moment in Hard Knocks where the number one pick that the Lions made in the first round of the draft, her mom's talking about something, and he comes from a family that's pretty well off. You can tell by their house and just the way they're dressed and everything. They got some money. And from that moment on, she's like, no, I don't like this kid. I don't like it. She just sees that and she just makes a snap judgment. He goes, no, I don't like this guy.
Good pun.
Yeah. And then she sees the opposite of that, team of soccer players that are making, $40,000 a year to play soccer for a living, pouring their hearts into it, trying to win a game and not winning. And she's like, now that's me.
Sure.
That's who I can relate to.
The grind.
The grind, not having everything handed to you. That's what she related to. So I'm like, oh, this is how I can get you into sports. We just have to watch the lowest version of it. So you know that they can't buy things that you can't buy.
Right. Honey, wait till I show you Highlight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're going to love that. So so is it basically like real life Ted Lasso?
I don't think it's as feel good as that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's only 2 episodes so far. So the first episode is pretty fun. And the second episode's kind of a bummer because they have to rebuild this franchise. And that means a lot of people lose their jobs.
Why did they buy it? Do they explain that?
Yeah,
because I've seen these guys doing press for the show, but they kind of toss it off like, "Oh, we thought it'd be fun," or
it's kind of
we
that.
don't know anything about.
It's kind of that, but it's also kind of this thing where they understand the history of it, and it's one of those things where if they didn't buy it, it might go away and just kind of fade away.
I see.
So they go, all right, well, this means a lot to a lot of people, and it can mean something to more people. So if we can back this, it could be a fun project for one thing, but also it can be something really meaningful for people again.
I see.
Because it's the oldest, or like the third oldest football club in the world.
Right.
So there's a lot of history there. I think the stadium's the oldest that is on any level. So there's a lot of history that goes into it. And then the town itself is in Wales, and it's kind of, it's a town that had a lot of things going for it. I mean, it looks like the Youngstown of Wales.
Right.
And it's just not doing all that well.
A lot
anymore.
of towns in Wales look like the Youngstown of Wales.
Yeah, that's the kind of vibe I got from Wales.
Right. Yeah. All right. This is a team in a league?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I do love about like international football, soccer, is how that teams have to play to win.
Relegation.
Because relegation is so great. I love that because then you can't tank. Teams that tank to try and get a draft pick get moved down.
Right.
So it's
you don't win, you're out.
I think that'd be great to do for football and basketball and baseball. I think that would be at that pro level where you go, okay, you lose, when the Browns went 0-16, you go, oh, guess what? You're not in the NFL anymore.
Right.
We're moving you down.
Your contract is null and void.
Yep.
Alan, did you see the Nikki Glaser monologue? I did. Did you see Nikki Glaser guest host Kimmel?
No.
She looked great, man.
She's a foxy lady.
Lovely.
Approachable. Hot.
She did a speed roast of politicians. You can find it online. It's very funny.
Speed roast.
Yeah, well, she does those roasts. She does those Comedy Central roasts. She kind of blew up on those a little bit because she just writes really good roast jokes. And so she's kind of known for that. And they did a speed roast where they just put up photos of politicians, both Democrats and Republicans. And she would just do these really good jokes. I mean, very, very funny. I'm not going to air it here. You can find it. You can find it online, but it's great. Alan, how do you not have a storm radio? I mean, I have a crank radio in my bug out bag, but I'm not listening to. That's like for an emergency thing, right? I'm not listening to the show on a crank radio.
I have an old radio I have a turntable with a radio on it, and it's fun to turn that on to listen to Guardians games and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And I know there are still people that like have their hi-fi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they get home and they do that Memorex cosplay where they kick back in their chair and they got the huge system. And that's great too. But, radios used to be much more prevalent in the home. Speaking of overseas, I wanted to warn Poundcake about ever going to Spain because did you read about the guy he basically got everything after he was vacationing in Spain. He got monkeypox, COVID, and HIV.
I think he's on the phone right now.
Oh, after a big weekend over in Spain.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's
an
over
Italian guy, though, right? He got the triple crown of viruses.
Yeah, he's over there having fun. So he's Sicilian, from Sicily. Not these guys over here who can't wait to tell you that they're Sicilian. This guy lives there, right? And he goes with some friends to Madrid. And they're telling people, hey, be careful. Monkeypox, by and large, is presenting primarily in gay men. And so they're like, hey, just be careful and take care of yourself, whatever. This guy comes back, monkeypox, COVID, and HIV. So this is a guy who had an amazing weekend, clearly. But the rest of that's why I said the rest of his year is going to suck. So, yeah, just be careful.
But that
when
weekend.
you're traveling. What a weekend.
Well, what a weekend.
COVID, monkey.
He earned it.
Documentary waiting for that. COVID, monkey.
They better hurry up.
HIV. Which one takes precedent? Because everyone's like, oh, you got HIV, you take a pill now. What? You got COVID?
I can't believe it. I mean, I can't believe they didn't come up with a cool name for it. Like Monk
COVID?
Monk Hovhiv.
Monk Hovhiv.
I got Monk Hovhiv after my holiday in Spain. Well, he's from Italy, so right? After my holiday in Spain, I got the monkeypox. And it's me, HIV.
That's foolish, though. People
I don't think he was trying to do it. He just, he obviously comes back and he's got the fever and he's got the headaches and they go, oh my God, because, monkeypox.
Gives me fever.
Monkeypox, they're really keeping an eye on. So they initially say, hey, yes, you do have monkeypox, but you also have the coronavirus. And they gave him some more tests. And you're also HIV positive.
That's what I'm saying. Which one takes precedent at that point? Which one do you announce first?
Well, monkeypox in I think the vast majority of cases, not fatal. COVID can be fatal. HIV is not what it once was. HIV isn't a death sentence. So, ironically,
the majority of monkeypox is fatal?
No, is not fatal.
Oh,
not
I was
fatal.
going to say it's just really ugly.
It's just real ugly. Yeah, that dude that had it all over his chin, that was ugh.
Yeah. So I would think if you had all three, you might be right to be most worried about COVID. because you're already
Because your
severely.
immune system's going to be pretty
Yeah,
compromised.
your immune system's going to be compromised from the HIV, and then the monkeypox.
But that's
is
only when it
already-
gets into AIDS territory. When you're just HIV positive, are you?
You can treat it.
Yeah, you
But it's
don't
still-
have full blown AIDS yet.
not full blown AIDS, no, but your
That
immune system is
phrase,
still compromised.
I feel awful, but that phrase makes me laugh every time.
And HIV,
Full-blown AIDS. And I don't know why. Don't know why.
So is AIDS treatable or is HIV the one that's treatable? If you get AIDS, like say
When you get AIDS, you're on your way out.
okay, so people aren't getting AIDS anymore.
I mean,
because
you
they
can
treat HIV.
It used to be if you had HIV,
It would
you
move
were
pretty
gonna have
fast, yeah.
gonna have AIDS.
Yeah.
Now you can have HIV for a long time and it won't develop into full-blown AIDS.
Full blown AIDS. Not HIV, but full blown AIDS.
They said that it's too early to say whether the combination of these viruses might result in a worse outcome, but how could it not? They're like, look, you're the first recorded case of somebody who got the trifecta here, the hat trick, if you will. And they go, frankly, we don't have any evidence that would tell us anything about somebody that has all three.
You're the
because
sea biscuit of viruses.
you're patient zero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because what medicine do you treat first? Like, which one? Oh, there's so many factors here. Like, do you have any pre-existing? Oh, okay, yes.
Well, I mean,
are you allergic to?
all
mhm.
three of them, are immuno, like it's your immune system or
It's
whatever.
like,
And
he had monkeypox, he had HIV, and COVID. What killed him? A cold.
yeah,
A cold.
Yeah, no, he just got hit by a car.
He's
He wasn't paying attention.
He stubbed his toe, and the toe had, has dirt on it, and it got infected, and he died.
he was double vaxxed against COVID. He spent 5 days in Spain. This is in June of this year. Comes back, really bet. No, I don't know what he was doing, but I think we probably know what he was doing.
He went to a Spanish orgy.
He was
Those
having
things are
fun. Yeah, he was
wild.
having fun in Spain. And then he came back home, tested positive for COVID. And then the very same day, he starts getting a rash on his arm. And then he starts getting a ring on his torso. And he starts getting the rash on his limbs and his face. And they go, oh, well, you've got... Now, he had already been treated for syphilis.
Wow. This guy knows how to party.
When this guy parties, he parties.
That's how when you had syphilis and like that's not even being brought up anymore, you go a little too hard.
Like I had a female caller, a male caller of mine that I used to mess with back in the day, and that was when I had my what was it?
You mean a gentleman caller, not the kind that you're screening back there in Studio G.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy who possibly almost gave me gonorrhea. He was positive, but I was not, and he was just like, oh, please. He was like, you just take the little shot. It's no big deal. Like it was so
Almost
so
gave you
casual to him,
gonorrhea.
yeah.
It was just so casual. He was like, yeah, you just go get your little shot and you'll be done. It's no big deal. I'm like, I've never had an STD before. And I was like, I have psoriasis. I threw the psoriasis card out there. I'm like, you're compromising me and my immune system. Like, he was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. He was like, I didn't think it would be a big deal. It's just gonorrhea and
Yeah,
syphilis.
that's the problem with people who F around that much where they don't think those things are a big deal.
Yeah, I took
They're
it
like,
really
whatever,
seriously.
man, it's the weekend.
I cried and I was like, my mom's gonna be so mad at me. I told her I wouldn't be out here flopping and look at me. I'm in the waiting room trying to get tested for gonorrhea, and I'd end up not having it, but still.
The sign over the guy's toilet that said going, gonorrhea didn't clue Poundcake in that maybe something was going on. Right next to his, eat, pray, love, he had going, gonorrhea. So this guy has got a whole bunch of stuff going on. And if you're a gay dude in Spain, I bet you might almost want to have sex with this guy just to see what happens.
I've heard stories about like sex parties in Madrid. Like it's like a thing that's talked about. Like, oh, you're going to Madrid? You're gonna go to a sex party? Like they just have orgies at normal everyday clubs. Like that's just what you do there. You just
Yeah, but they have orgies in Stark County with a bunch of bored,
But it's in Spain. There's a little exotic. There's a glamour to it. It's Spain. It's a Spain orgy. No
You're
one wants
saying
to go.
Stark County's not exotic?
Correct.
Get down there. It's
No one's just having an orgy in a club down in Stark County.
No, they're having it in their basement on greasy mattresses.
Yeah, that's a big
there actually
difference.
is a.
That's pretty exotic to me.
I think there's a swingers club in Stark County.
Of course there
Swingers
is.
Club is not the same.
Yeah, they're on the sticks. They're bored. They start looking at their neighbors, go, I guess I'd get naked with that person. I don't know.
Gone are the days where I could just be so cavalier. You're just like, oh, I don't know if this person, I don't know this guy's name. He might have an STD. I don't know. Let's just take a chance here.
Well, you've dodged a lot of bullets.
That's why I'm very cautious.
Not the least of which, Mr.
Just like Neil.
in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Poundcake's hanging out with
Do your
dudes
sound
who
effects.
don't think gonorrhea is a big deal. What was that sound effect?
That was the Matrix dodging bullets.
That was
sound.
him. That's Poundcake in bullet time. Let me break here. If you want to text for something, 35192, AlanCoxShow.com. You can watch the live stream there. And you can listen anywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
The Alan Cox Show.
On 100.